Today on Energy Contact. The problem with the rat race is even if you win it, you're still a rat. So what did Gandhi do? Jesus, Thomas Merton, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King. They didn't win the race, but they sure did something. Something that made them winners. Something that set them apart. And made them happier and healthier and just somehow better off than a lot of people, huh? Want to understand what they knew? Well, it's coming up right now on Energy Contact. Hello and welcome to Energy Contact. My name is Joseph Willenbrink. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you to the production staff here in the studio for helping me get my message out to you. Energy Contact is a series that I'm presenting to you as a public service. It's about attaining perfect health, growth, self-improvement, happiness, and it's about realizing your full potential. It's designed to present you a new way of seeing yourself and of seeing the world around you. We're talking about things on this program that have to do with making an energetic contact with yourself internally and with your environment. There's no difference between the body, the mind, the spirit, the emotion. There's no difference between the intellect, the ego, between mass and energy. Goodness we love to categorize and classify, but there's no difference. The more we look, the more we see they're exactly the same. So, all of that health and self-improvement and growth and stuff comes where we make that energy contact the physical self, where we make energetic contact between this visible world and the unseen one. We're presenting on this program a brand new paradigm that's thousands of years old. We're presenting extraordinary topics for ordinary people. And let's move right ahead with that and put up the first slide. Everyone please know that I am not a doctor. I don't want to be one. This show is in no way a medical advice show. I don't give medical advice. I might call myself an energy healer or a chakra healer. So might you if you came to me. But state, federal, and local governments do not. There's important information on this slide. Please look at it with all awareness. I'm going to leave it up there for a second. And when you've got it down, I'll ask you another favor. Please locate a pencil and paper. At the end of this show, we're going to run some credits, and on those credits is going to be contact information for me. I invite you to contact me, and I hope you will. But in order to contact me, you're going to need that information. In order to get it, you're going to need a pencil and paper. If you wait till the end of the show, you might not have time, so please get it now. All right, and let's come back up here. Today's show is show number 20. And if it's your first time joining us today, well, thank you and welcome. I think you'll enjoy the show. The show is sequential. It does build. We present things each week that we've introduced on previous shows. So there's a little ramp-up stuff that you might be missing if you're here for the first time or one of the first times. But I'm working very hard to review what needs to be reviewed and to make this show have great value on a standalone basis. So please stick around. If it is one of your first times or your first time and what you see piques your interest, please look around. Sometimes previous shows air at later times, either in this neighborhood or perhaps in a different cable neighborhood of one of your friends. So I'll be flattered if you do look around for it. All right, and lastly but not leastly, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce my co-host to you. I'm going to introduce my co-host Slim. Slim is here to help me tell you guys about what it is that the energy contacts in us. This show is a show about energy. So we want to know something about energy. But energy out there doesn't do us much good, does it? We need to understand what it is that the energy contacts. Where is Slim? Maybe we can get, there's my buddy Slim. So Slim here is going to help us do just that. He's going to show us the parts of us that that energy meets. Remember that a body without energy is just a corpse. Go to the funeral parlor, see them all day. Energy without a body, it might be a number of things, but it's not human. To be fully human and fully alive, we want to make that energy contact the physical self. All right. Previously on Energy Contact, we have been discussing the body intellect, haven't we, and the anatomy that it builds. We've been talking about how the same materials in our brains that give us thought, recall, memory, intellect, logic, those sorts of things, how they're in every cell of our body. We've seen how even though we like to keep them in our head, make them only brain chemistry things, they're in every part of us. And so our body thinks and our body has intellect. We've observed that, and we've observed what that has to do with our core, the very core of us. Core thoughts, core beliefs, core values, core instincts, core actions, core everything. It's all in there. Well, what else is in that core? Well, we've seen that the core manages breathing, survival instinct, sexuality, digestion and elimination, the autoimmune system, thoughts and feelings, instincts and reactions, how we process information, how we process energy, how we relate to people. These are just a few things. They're all going on in our core. You know that old saying, hey, it's all in your head? Well, it's not. Recently, into this mix, we've added Maslow's need hierarchy. If that's a new term to you, hang on, we'll explain it. And we've seen that what this fellow Maslow looked at was the same thing. He looked at those same core needs and might not have even been aware that he was doing it. We've seen that this core is an anatomical place. It's just a big bowl of guts and goo. But it's intimately and intricately involved with non-physical things, core attitudes, gut feelings. In fact, there is absolutely no difference. Your doctor, your trainer at the gym, and your energy healer, they might not know that, but now you do. And today, we're going to keep right with that. And we're going to look a little bit more at our anatomy, and we're going to look a lot more at Maslow's need hierarchy. And today is an auspicious day, because today we're going to get out of that core a little bit. Long ago, in the first episodes of Energy Contact, we spent a lot of time in the womb. Longtime viewers will recall. And I promised you guys that I was going to get you out of the womb, and I did. But what I didn't tell you was that as soon as I busted you out of your mother's abdomen, I was going to pop you right into your own. And that's where we've been now for about 11 shows or so. But today, we are at least starting the process of busting out. We're going to investigate how we transcend both that core that is our abdomen and the jail that is the bottom of Maslow's need hierarchy. And we're going to see what we're going to do about ever getting out of that jail. How are we going to rise above to non-core pursuits? How are we going to get above basic survival? We've seen that being stuck will make us sick. Well, today we're going to see more about how transcending will make us perfectly healthy. But right now, this is the part of the show where we take our visualization. As you know, I love to visualize, and on today's virtual field trip, if you will, today's journey in our mind's eye, we're going to revisit the same visualization of the last two shows. If you were watching, you'll recall that I had you win the lotto. You're welcome. Today we're going to have you win the lotto again. But today we're going to imagine that it's a slightly different you who does that. Let's imagine, just for the sake of the conversation, that somebody gave you the ticket as a gift. Then you find out that you won. When you find out, your eyebrows raise and you smile and you say, man, that's really nice. And you mean it. You throw $1 million to the person who gave you the ticket, and then you throw $1 million here and there to your favorite charities, good organizations that help people that you always thought, boy, I wish I could help out some way. About that time, the mail comes in, you look at the bills. Energy bill, house payment, brother. Parking tickets. It doesn't matter. You just pay them quick. Get the little stuff out of the way so you can devote yourself to better things. Then, as is proper, you just decide to go on a long trip. Treat yourself to a month vacation, a cruise or something. But when you get back, something's happened. The money's gone. Oh, we don't know why. Bank failure, stock market crash, whatever it is. But you find out that the money's all gone. Well, you didn't keep that much of it, really. You passed most of it along anyway. But when you find out there's nothing left in the kitty, you just, man, that's really too bad. And you really mean that, too. You return to your previous life, though, and you just sort of feel richer for having had the experience. You feel better for having had the power to make a positive impact on the world and the opportunity to help people. Ponder that for just a second. Wait a minute. Is there something wrong with you? Are you crazy? You just rifled a few millions of bucks and you don't care? Well, no, not really. You know why? Because you've transcended your core. That's where we are today, transcending that core. And we're looking at that core in two seemingly unrelated areas. First, in your abdomen, that big bowl of guts and goo we've been talking about. And then second, in this sort of virtual location, described by a fellow named Abraham Maslow. Let's review a little bit of Maslow's part of it for a second. Maslow said that there was a hierarchy, a system of prioritizing. We are prioritizing every second of our life, and consciously, we don't even know it. We're not even aware of it. But our body intellect knows it. Maslow told us we can do without food for a few weeks. We can only do without water for a couple of days. But even if it's been a couple of days and we haven't had a drink, if somebody starts tightening their hands around our throat in a chokehold and we can't breathe, we will forget thinking about water completely. Until our more basic need is met, nothing else matters. Let's bring up that next slide. And I want to show you a little wisdom from our buddy Abraham Maslow. He said, to the man who only has a hammer, everything he encounters begins to look like a nail. That's Abraham Maslow. He is the 20th century man who took all this ancient wisdom that old yogis knew 10,000 years ago. He pulled it out. He studied it closely. He spelled it out. He held it up to the light. All right, let's come back up here. Maslow knew that we had this priority system, and he knew that we had a core, obviously. But he might not have known about this body management system, this body intellect, this bowl of guts and goo. So we're going to look at Maslow's pyramid in a second, but before we do, we're going to look at the other model of our core, the other model of what controls need and survival and the search for filling up our empty places. Let's bring up the next slide. And you'll see our old buddies. You've seen this slide many times before. The pelvis and the psoas. You can see how that psoas muscle moving diagonally there moves that pelvis, which is the very core of us, around. Let's move right to the next slide. And you'll see another picture. There on the one side is sort of the medical school picture of our abdominal cavity. And on the other side, a nice big close-up. That big red muscle there is our psoas muscle. Look at that for a moment, and we'll think of how Maslow would categorize this business here. The most important thing we have to do is to breathe. And that's managed by that psoas muscle. It controls breathing in conjunction with the diaphragm above and the intercostal muscles, which you can't see on those pictures. After we start breathing, then we start to think of water, then food. After that, our most primal and life-preserving instinct is the survival instinct. Beyond air, water, and food is fight and flight and freeze and shelter and warmth. It's all managed here in the abdomen, primarily by the psoas, which controls all those basic responses to fear, fight, flight, and freeze. Our next most primal endowment after that is our sexual energy, and that's managed by our psoas and the muscles of the pelvic floor that you can see down there on the bottom of the abdominal cavity picture there. You know what else is managed down there? Digestion, elimination, and the way we relate to people. After that, in order to move, we have to have a functional structure. The psoas manages that too. It's what keeps the top of us on the bottom of us. It keeps our torso balanced over our legs. It manages how we relate to life, the earth, gravity, entropy, and energy. So here's one very good take, but now we're going to bring up the slide of Maslow's need hierarchy, and we're going to look at the same thing from a completely different light. See that yellow stripe down there, physiological needs? We're going to start right there. That's what we need before anything else. Oxygen, air, breathing, and after that, water. And then after that, food. Then shelter and warmth. Then the needs to be active, to rest, to sleep, to eliminate body wastes, to avoid pain, to be sexual. So you can see, even with within that bottom yellow stripe, there's a priority system. There's layers inside that layer. We could blow that up and make another pyramid. You notice too that all these things down here are physical. They're in the body. Primitive. Darwinian. Only after those physiological needs do we move on. We move on to safety needs, safety and security. We become increasingly interested in finding safe circumstances, stability, protection. We start to develop a need for structure and security, safety. After that, and only after that, only after we feel safe, we move up to the next layer, belonging needs. And we start to feel the need for friends, maybe a sweetheart, maybe kids, affectionate relationships in general, bonding, a sense of community, the frat, the softball team, the church, the regulars at the bar, the Harley Club, whatever. And at that point, we become increasingly susceptible to loneliness and to social anxieties. Let's move up one more. Next, we begin to look for a little respect. And we see that in two forms. First off, there's the need for the respect of others, but there's a higher version, the need for respect of ourself. The lack of fulfillment of these needs brings us, well, you guessed it, low self-esteem, an inferiority complex. These are the root of most of our neuroses and most of our psychological problems. All right, let's come back up here for a second. Those esteem need folks, I dare say that this is where most of us get stuck. Most of us get stuck here just looking for that respect. Waiter, what are you taking their order for? We were here earlier. Who do you think you are butting up in front of me in line? Little petty stuff that dominates our lives. Well, you're thinking, well, at least it's a couple of steps better than what's going on down there at that bottom rung. Well, maybe, but maybe not. You know why? Because we're still in deficit at this level. We're still trying to get back to zero just as much as we were when we were fighting for oxygen. At this level, those root chakras, don't worry, we'll talk about them in a few weeks. Our root chakras aren't rocking. And our autoimmune system, just like our lungs, is just barely gasping for air. And it's not enough to keep us from getting sick. You see, all of those things in the bottom of Maslow's pyramid there, they're all deficit needs. If you don't have enough of something, you feel the need. And when you meet the need, you feel nothing at all. It's not the addition of a positive, it's making a negative go away. That's not a very full life, is it? It's addiction. You scratch the itch, but it comes back, and the monkey's on your back again. Last show we talked about pain management, stress management. Those people that are involved in that, they aren't trying to get healthy. They're just trying to make that nagging, blinding, life-ruling pain go away. And pain's just resistance to flow. But rather than promoting flow and flowing with it, they're numbing themselves to it. So many of us, we aren't trying to get ahead at all. We're just trying to fill that empty, empty place. We're just trying to stay at zero, or at least get close. We're gasping for air. And you know what? 1 million different people will arrange that system of priorities to get them there in 1 million different ways. It's what makes us all different. It's precisely what makes us all different. So it's sort of a bleak picture. And I've presented a bleak picture to you the past couple of weeks. But now it's time to move ahead because it's not that bleak at all. There's another layer on the pyramid. There's somewhere else to be. and it's the only place that's worthwhile. Let's put that slide back up there again. There you see it, folks, at the top. Self-actualization. This is the secret. It's the way off. It's the way off of that hamster wheel. It's the way to cure the addiction. If you've made it here, congratulations. You've swum up to the surface. You're not drowning anymore. In fact, unlike deficit needs, all those deficit needs on the bottom, the purpose is to make them go away. Self-actualization, we want to make it stronger. We want to make that being drive stronger as we go. And once we establish ourselves here, we can't fall back. We've transcended. Let's come back here. Transcended. So what does that really mean? And how do we get here? Well, I can't tell you. And even if I could, maybe I wouldn't. A million different people have a million different routes. But what I can do is show you a few road signs. And we can look at the qualities of people who have made it up there, the same way an apprentice looks at the work of a master craftsman. And I can tell you this, that when you do transcend, you will create health. You'll create it every day. Your autoimmune system will just work like nothing you've ever seen, and you won't have to synthetically kickstart it or numb yourself to what's going on with your growing list of prescriptions. When you self-actualize, my friends, it doesn't imply that you won't have faults and idiosyncrasies, but you might have a few things coming up, but what you are is healthy. It's what you are. It's no longer what you have. It's no longer about what you do, nor is it about what you have to do. What are the qualities of self-actualized souls? Well, there's a few of them here, and I can rumble off to you real quickly. Truth, not falsehood. Goodness, beauty, not ugliness or vulgarity. Unity, wholeness and transcendence of opposites, not the arbitrariness of forced choices. Uniqueness, not bland uniformity. Completion, justice, simplicity, no unnecessary complexity. Effortlessness, not strain. Playfulness, not grim drudgery. Self-sufficiency, meaningfulness. You might be thinking, well, Joseph, those are nice platitudes. Everybody wants that. Well, not really. The thief thinks everybody's trying to steal from him. Why? Because he wants to steal. There's some downsides too. When Maslow studied his actualized people, he saw that they had some issues. As long as we're here, we'll have them. Self-actualized people often suffer a lot of anxiety, even sometimes some guilt. But it's that anxiety and guilt that comes with that constant desire to constantly improve and refine. Actualized people tend to be absent-minded, overly kind sometimes, gullible. When faced with what they feel is unjust, however, they'll flip. They'll go immediately to moments of ruthlessness, surgical coldness, intolerance, a loss of sense of humor. Self-actualized people have a little bit of ego, huh? They got a little bit of that Moses complex. They need somebody to lead, and they got a little bit of ego. You know, just imagine, speaking of Moses, you know, he held up his hand and the Red Sea parts from side to side. He just got to be thinking for a second. Yeah, I'm the man. All right, but self-actualized people are reality-centered. They can differentiate what's real from what's unreal, and they're solution-centered. They treat life's problems as things to be solved, not as personal dramas to either be indulged in or surrendered to. They understand that the journey is at least as important as the destination. The ends don't justify the means are the end. The path is the destination. And they resist enculturation. They don't cave into pressure, social pressure, peer pressure, other kind. They're nonconformists in the best sense. They don't just march to the beat of a different drummer. Man, their drummer drums better. They enjoy a few personal friends, a posse if you will, but they enjoy being alone. Notice that list. And notice that it has nothing to do with status, sex appeal, money, white teeth, odor-free armpits. It doesn't have anything to do with those things. It's energy contact that it has to do with. So let's look a little bit at some of the people who've gotten by this, huh? We've said that Maslow's pyramid is a trap of sorts. It's a Rubik's Cube. So is our abdomen, as beautiful as it is. And if we want to make it through the maze, we have to look at the others who've done it, the people who've solved the problems. Gandhi, you think he worried about how his mutual fund was doing? Jesus, he never cared about where his next meal was coming from. Thomas Merton didn't mind if somebody butted in front of him in line. Who else? Lincoln, Jefferson, Francis of Assisi, Benedict Spinoza. Those are names from the past. Present day, Einstein, Eleanor Roosevelt, Swami Shivananda, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King. These people are saints, and they're not just saints from the past. They're here in our day and time, and saints are around us now. They might be living at the corner. They don't have to be in the public eye. And saints are beloved, huh? You ever seen a saintly person? You don't want to leave them. You don't want to leave their company. You want to be like them. You want to be near them. Not only are they their very best them, but there's something about them that makes you kind of have a burning desire to be your very best you. They have a charm and a charisma. They inspire you. They make you see that field of limitless possibilities as something tangible and attainable, something right in front of you. Why? Because they have a dream. They have a vision. People love them, and they attract love. And you know what else? People hate them, and they attract hatred. Huh? People hate them? You bet. And they vilify them. And they spread rumors and malicious lies, and sometimes they shoot them in the head, or they crucify them. When you get to the top of the pyramid, people might hate you too, but it's all right. The love and the sense of purpose will make it worth it. We only have time to give you one example, and I'll try to present it quickly. Look at Martin Luther King. What a wonderful, beautiful man, huh? He was a happy man too, and you know what? People loved to be around him. You know why? Because he had a dream. And when hard times came tapping at his door, he was ready because he'd been to the mountaintop. He'd seen the promised land. And he'd do it all over again if he had to because he had a dream. Doesn't that inspire you a little? Don't you want to be like that? I hope so. Today, unfortunately, we're out of time to tell you more about it. I wish you peace and positive energy and a healthy life in Energy Contact.